In respect of getting rid of the coup culture, I think, you can't say that you'll write something one day and you'll get rid of all the coups, or the coup culture. But what you can have, you have building mechanisms that brings about more accountability, that reduces the ability of people to carry out such events. And there are various provisions in it. And many people would argue that, for example, those people who may have rushed up to Parliament House in 2000, many of those people who went there, they actually had some socio-economic grievances. They probably did not have access to water, electricity, roads. They were poor people. And then somebody came along and said, you do this, you'll get it. There are a lot of people who are led, unfortunately. So you go to the root problem. The root problem is we need to empower them through those basic needs. And this is why, and I'm not making a political plug here, that's why this government has been focused on that, but the Constitution itself addresses socio-economic needs. So if people feel that you have a constitution, a system, or a government that addresses those fundamental issues that is dear to them, they will have more of a buy-in. If you have the commander of the RFMF having the commander-in-chief as the elected prime minister, you have more of a buy-in. If you have elections that are conducted in a free and transparent manner without having voter turnout of 101%, etc., so people have more of a buy-in. Otherwise, people sit around the grog bowl and say, oh yeah, these guys, they short and they want government. We don't want that. Because if you do that and people believe that, then it's always easier to overturn the government. So it's a combination of things. It's not one specific reason, but it's a combination of provisions that need to be included in the Constitution, combination of government policies and systems and procedures and attitudes that need to be put together to stop that coup culture.